Excuse me. Let me just shut this. I'm on mute, correct?
Oh no.
We can have it online for people who missed it. And I just want to say hello, Deborah. Thank you so much for coming to this online program called The Amazing Journey. And it's the story of the National Black Doll Museum of History and Culture, which was started by Deborah here in 2004. Although she has been collecting for 50 years. I know she doesn't look 100, so, you know, she looks young, but she started her collections early and her family really helped her be a real collector. They were all collectors. And the National Black Doll Museum in Mansfield, and I heard of it, but I'd never been there, opened its doors in 2004, and it recently had to close during COVID. It was no longer possible to do school groups, which are a source of income. And Deborah now has a massive collection without a home. And Deborah, thank you for doing this. This is the Ames Free Library. My name is Marion Wingfield, and we're thrilled to host you tonight. And as I said, this will be recorded on the library's website, and you can check in or send it to other people when we're done. So take away the amazing journey.
Oh, amazing journey. So where do we start? You want to start from the very beginning?
Yeah. I mean, really, I would love to know about the actual collections of your museum and how you decided that this actually could be a museum, and also what you thought was important about Black dolls for everybody. Why you decided to do this?
Why do you decide to do it?
Yeah,
I think my life was what started the museum. I never ever wanted to have a museum. It was not my intention of having a museum. And you know, your life, you think that you have a path and you say, this is what I want to do. But you know, God works in mysterious ways and have his own plans. So I grew up in Dorchester. I grew up in Dorchester. I think we moved there around 61, 62. We moved into Dorchester. Great house. My father was a service, you know, he was in the service. He had his GI Bill, bought this huge house in Dorchester, 2-family house. And the first thing when we moved into the house, there was 2 dolls. So there was one doll that was there that caught my eye that was left there. The doll was a Jamal. So a Jamal.
Say that again. How do you spell it?
It's Jumeau.
Jameau. I've never heard of a Jameau doll.
It's a French doll, and a story, amazing story. So we're gonna work all around these stories. So a Jameau is a French doll. It's porcelain, gorgeous eyes, blonde hair, big cheeks, really gorgeous doll. So when you look at the doll kind of looks back at you. So it always catches your eye and has this glisten to it. Now, the doll caught my eye as a child. Amazing story. A woman comes into the museum in Mansfield and she goes, my husband's mother had these dolls in the attic and I don't want them. And I want to just get rid of these dolls, but he keeps telling me to keep these dolls because they belong to his mother. And I don't know anything about the dolls, but I'm going to get rid of them. I just want to get rid of them and send them to the Goodwill. Do you know anything about these dolls? You probably don't because they're white. I opened up the box and I said, my heart just fell. Because if you know dolls, there are certain dolls that you want. And the Jameau is one of those type of dolls. I looked at the dolls and I said to her, honey, these dolls are probably worth about $10,000 or $15,000. And you have 4 of them sitting right here. You got about 60 grand sitting here. She goes, no. I go, yeah. So let's do this. So when you get a doll, when you go in to collect the doll, the first thing you want to do is you want to take the doll, you want to look at the doll, and you want to, I think I have the doll back here. So I restore dolls, repair dolls, fix dolls. You want to look in the back of the head because you're going to find markings. So any doll that you get and you have dolls at home, this is what you're going to do. You're going to look on the back. You'll either find a name on the back of the doll. You'll find some initials. You'll find numbers. You'll find some kind of marking. Most dolls, especially antique dolls, because they always put markings on them. Now you might find them if you have Barbie. Mattel still puts them on there on the back of Barbie. You'll find that Hasbro puts them on. Most manufacturers will put them on now, or they put them on the back. Sometimes they put them on the bottom of the foot. So you always want to take the clothes off the dolls very gently and look and see if you can find any kind of markings. And that will be the start of your hunt when you have a doll. So that's how you can tell who the doll is and what the company is. So we take the clothes off and we find the markings on the doll. And then so I'm saying, yep, this is exactly what I thought the doll was. And I'm telling her, you need to go and have the doll officially appraised. Go downtown to Skinner's, and they will appraise it, and they give you the paperwork that you need. You need to have the dolls insured. And as we're going and we're putting the clothes back on the doll's wrapped all up in tissues. And this woman never takes the dolls out of the box, never looks in the box. Her mother-in-law went to this appraiser, Sotheby's in New York, probably 5 years, 10 years prior, and had the dolls appraised. All the paperwork was in the bottom of the box. They had appraised the dolls 10 years prior at $25,000 a piece. And she was going to throw the dolls to the Goodwill, just throw them away, because she had a little thing going on with the mother-in-law, and she really didn't want to be bothered with the dolls, but you never know. So those things that people call junk, not so much. Be very careful with the dolls. But
can I ask you a question? What started you? What I'm dying to know.
But I'm going to tell you.
Okay, go ahead.
Why but why me? So I found that, Jamal, and my father took the doll away because he said it was really a nice doll, and he thought it was too expensive, and he took it away. And he said, you can't have it. And I wanted to have that doll. That was one thing. A few months later, we're cleaning up the house, and I find two small dolls, 1/2 inch. They were frozen Charlottes. They're little black dolls. They don't move. They just stand there. They're 1/2 inch dolls. My father took those dolls away from me and said, you're going to lose them. I'll give them to you when you get older, a little bit bigger, when I think you're more responsible. He took those dolls away. I never saw those dolls again. See, this is your life. Now, I think at that point, I probably was 9. Probably about a year or so later, I go into school, and I have this teacher in school, and I'm doing my work. Now, busing hadn't started, and I was getting bused to school, but it wasn't official school busing in the city of Boston. And I had went to the middle school that was in the different part of Dorchester. And I go to the school. I had short hair because my cousin had cut my hair. So she cut all my hair off, and my grandmother said, you can't go to school like that. You have all these patches. And so my grandmother buzzed my hair and cut it off really short. And I looked like a little boy, and I was a little chunky, and I went to school. And this teacher wasn't thrilled that there was a black kid in the school. He was not. And so he was upset that I was in school. And so he was telling me every day that I didn't belong in the school, that black people could not learn. And there was no point in me going to school anyway, because I was just going to be a maid, and that I didn't need an education. And then he said that I was a bush boogie, and I couldn't figure out what that was. And I was saying, okay, so what is that? So he was teaching geography, Mr. Ford, that was his name. And he would teach geography, and he would ask everybody where they came from. And they were saying, oh, I come from Russia. And he would ask them all about their culture. And he said, you don't know anything. You're a bush boogie, and you have no history. And I kept saying, I don't know what a bush boogie is. So I started getting these books, and I started reading in geography, and I couldn't find a bush boogie. And then if I went to school, if I had fruit, he would make monkey sounds. And he said,
oh my gosh,
really, black people are like monkeys, are like apes. And so this is who you are. You don't have any place to go. Kind of left a hole in my heart, because I was looking for something, and I could never fill this hole. So whenever I saw a black doll, I would look at it, and I would say, does this look like me?
Hmm.
It never kind of looked like me because I could never find one because I have this gap. I found that doll when I was 50 something years old. I want you to know she's not here yet, but I'm gonna bring her out soon. But I said I could never find that doll. Kind of left a hole. But every time I saw a black doll, I would buy this doll. And I just kind of like just started saving because I was looking for something that looked like me. Now people always ask me, didn't I get you upset that that teacher did those things to you? Because I would raise my hands and he would never ask, said, you can't learn, you can't learn. But I would always read and try to get the answer so that if he asked the question 5 chapters ahead, I had the answer already because I would make myself learn because I felt like you're not going to do this, so I'm going to do it. And I'm going to learn as much as I can about everything that I can so that I would just know. I think it was the best thing that he ever did for me.
Hmm.
Other people would be upset, but for me, it was the greatest gift that he could give me because it made me just want to learn. It made me embrace other people, other cultures. I learned about everybody, everything. And I learned that, it would just make me stronger. So for me, it was the best. There was nothing wrong with it. I mean, some people could drink and feel bad or do drugs, but for me, it was like the love of myself, the love of the dolls. I found something that I could really love. I made sure that other people felt good. I never wanted another kid to feel bad because I felt bad at the time. I would go home and sometimes I would cry, you know, inside. But when I got older, I would never let it happen to another kid. I don't care what kind of, that's why my collection, I have black dolls. I have a huge, I just cataloged 300 dolls of the world. And I mean, I had to go into detail because I have dolls from Spain. This is my phone dinging. But I have dolls of the world, but I have dolls from, 172 different countries that I collect, and I make sure that every time I find a different country, whether it's Russia or Croatia or whatever country, I make sure I get it. Because if a kid comes in, I want them to find that there's something for them because I know what it feels to have that hole. And they say, you don't have a doll for my country. I go, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I have something for you because I want everybody to feel good. And when you see something that looks like you, it makes you feel good, and I know that. So that's why I have that.
I have to just say, growing up, and I'm sure everybody feels that way, the only dolls I saw were blonde and blue-eyed. That was it. And I'm not blonde and blue-eyed. And that was the kind of, the thing that you're always stuck playing with. So for you to have a collection of dolls for kids, to find their identity in them is really extraordinary.
Yeah, but I mean, and I know, and people, and I love redheads, and redheaded dolls are like the hardest dolls to find. To find a doll that has redhead and freckles, it's the hardest doll to find. I mean, as hard as black dolls, it's hard for a redhead with freckles, and I know that because I'm always looking for a redhead dolls because I see cute redhead girls all the time, redhead kids all the time, and kids call them carrot tops. I know that because I was in school, and I could hear the kids talking about the little redhead girls, and they would be calling them carrot tops. It bothered me that this happened to them and stuff, and so I made sure that I had carrot tops. I think that they're gorgeous, and I tell kids that all the time. There's something special about every kid, and I let them know that all the time. Each and every kid that I have met, there's always something special, whether it's a twinkle in the eye, something in their cheek, something in their chin, there's something that's just special that they don't see, other people don't. I tell them all the time, I see it, and I think that's a gift that was given to me because somebody tried to take it away. And so I see it all the time. So it makes me happy, and I can see it there, and which is why I really push to make sure that not only that they are black dolls, but they are dolls that represent everybody. One of my favorite companies is called the Mixes. There's a toy company, it's called the Mixes, and it's because they try to mix the colors of the dolls. So they will do, Asian dolls, but maybe like a fairer kind of a skins, because they're mixing an Asian with a Caucasian kid or a Hispanic kid with an Asian kid. So when you look at the dolls, you can see the coloring and stuff. It's really amazing. And Mattel is doing better now too. So I'm impressed with what they're doing too. So I'm really feeling it and stuff.
So can I just ask you, so how did you come up to the museum? How did you end up founding the museum? And then what did you do to the collection to spread it around, to, and show it off,
So
to do programming with it?
the museum was, like I said, I had hundreds of dolls. I just liked dolls, so that was the beginning of collecting. A part of it, well, my audience, there are some things that depending on my audience, and I don't know who my audience is in this group. But sometimes things happen to you, and I had to overcome some real difficult situations in my life, and it made me I became agoraphobic at a point in my time. I was working and I had to leave my job because there was a strange person that was there that made me leave my job. And I don't know who's on this line. If I had an older group and I was in a group with just older women, we could talk about it. And I do talk about it. But I'm not sure who the young people are, if there's young people in my group. But I left the job and I became agoraphobic because I was afraid to go out, because I was afraid that I would be harassed and stalked by this person. And as I was home, my husband's a police officer, I would have to be home at night by myself. And because I was home at night by myself, I would sit up all night. And the only thing I had in my house was me and some dolls. And I was a crazy person because I used to work at the post office, and I would get home at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And if I bought dolls, I would hide them because I didn't want my husband to know all this money I was spending buying dolls, because I'm like really buying dolls. And when you're a collector like this, and there's a lot of people like me, we buy the dolls and then you take them, you stick them in your car, and then you wait until somebody goes to work, and then you bring them, put them in the closet, and then you go and you stick them, you put them up in the attic, and then you put them all over the place. And then when nobody's around, then you go enjoy your dolls. And then what happens is you straighten up the living room and then you add the doll in. So now, because it was only 25, they're not going to notice 29. So you put the 4 in. But then at night, when you're home by yourself, you start to do the research. And so I started doing research to find where the doll came from, how old the doll was, what year. And I started doing research because I felt like I have them all here. So what's the story behind them? Every doll has a story. And if you're starting to get them and they're old and they're cloth dolls, which are really hard to find, then you have to learn how to identify them. Okay, so that's when I'm telling you about how you do them, if they are a porcelain or a cotton, but then you know that if they're cloth and somebody hand makes them, then you have to know about fabric and you have to know about textures and stuff. So I did all of that research. Once that happened, I looked around and it was Christmas one year. And I said to my husband, I want to do something with this collection. And my nephew had said, Santa Claus is not going to come because, look, we were at a soccer game and he grew up out in Mansfield. And we went to a soccer game and I think he was 5. And he looked around, he said, this is why I don't want to be Black. And I said, why? He said, because everybody is white. And Santa Claus is not going to come. And I said, what? Why would you say that? He said, just look, he's not coming because I'm not white. And that just like really touch me. And I said, that's not true. Santa Claus comes to everybody. He couldn't understand that. But that made me go out right then. I said, you just wait and see. You just wait and see. And that was in August. And I started in August. And now, surprisingly enough, that stores start to put them Santa Clauses out come September 1st. So if you really want to find a Santa Claus, you have to start looking for black Santa Clauses around September 1st because they only do one or two. And so you have to go and find it. So I got lucky and I would find that one and I would go wherever. And then I started to travel and call people up and ask them to send me. By the time Christmas came, I probably had 50 Santa Clauses. And I had him come to my house and said, look, between that and buying little red and white dresses for all the dolls that I had, my house was very Christmassy with Santa Claus and all the red and white dolls that he could see. And I said, see, he's coming because he's black. He goes to school and he tells his friends that Santa Claus was black and he was coming. And the kids kept saying to him, no, he's not. And he kept saying, yeah, he is, because my aunt's got him at her house. So they said, okay, can we go and see? And he said, yeah, come on over to my aunt's house. She'll let you see. And he brought some kids from Mansfield. I never forget, he brought them from Mansfield, from the Robinson School, about 10 little kids. And they came and they were just like shocked to see black Santas. And I said to my husband, I know what I want for Christmas. I want you to rent me a storefront. Because if he's never seen them, and I have them, and these kids have never seen them, I want kids to see them. I want them to see all of this. And my husband rented me a storefront for Christmas. So that was the very first time I had did a huge exhibit. But that's when I realized how many dolls I had. Up until then, they were all over the place. They were at my mother's, they were in the garage, in the attic, you know, in the basement, my sisters, my brothers. I had hid them for years, but then I had to take them all out. My brother-in-law came to help me because my husband got a storefront next to my church in Boston. And my brother-in-law had got a moving truck, a big one, not a little one, but a big moving truck, right? He gets this big moving truck and he filled the moving truck up and it was not big enough. He had to go and get another move. So we had two moving trucks. And that's when I knew that there was a problem. Up until then, I didn't know. Because they have been everywhere. And I had them like, I have 4 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms was filled with dolls. And that was okay with me, all the little shelves. And that's cute. And they're all on the bed and they're all up on the shelves. And that's cute. And that was okay with me. And I have them in my living room and I have them in my dining room and they're in the bathroom. And I have kitchen appliance covers and I have a vacuum, cover, and they're everywhere. But that's okay with me because, but when you put them in a truck and you go someplace, then you realize that there's something special. Something special going on. So then I realized that there was a collection, but I still wasn't ready to open up a museum. That still didn't get me into museum. I still didn't think I could do it and didn't know that I could do it. I was more comfortable going to different libraries. So the next thing I did was I contacted Mansfield, Foxborough, Plainville, Sharon, Easton. I contacted 32 libraries and I put together a little passport, and every library had a different theme. And I themed them out from the 1800s all the way up to the present. And and that's where Dolly Days came from. So the month of February, it was Dolly Days. And I made a little passport book and people could go from library to library and look at the exhibits. And then the librarians said, well, can you do a program? And I said, the only thing I know how to do is make dolls. And they said, yeah, come make dolls. I said, okay, I'll come and make dolls. And so I started to go and do the program and make dolls. And so that kind of got me doing that. I went into the schools because Miss Farinella is a teacher that was in Mansfield. And she said, you should really do a program. And I said, I could never do a program in the school. I don't know what to do. And she was like, do what you do. Just do what you do. You love the kids love you. You're just real comfortable with the kids, and they can tell. And if you're gonna fail, you'll fail. But it looks like you got this down. You can do this. I don't think I'm a teacher. She's like, sure, just come in here and just do what you do. And I did. And the teacher started calling me and making appointments for the next year. And then I thought there was a problem, that I needed to do something. So I went to walk, and I said, I'm not sure. And I called my sisters on the phone and said, I can't do this by myself. I need your help. And they said, okay, and what are we going to do? And I said, I don't know. I don't know where we're going to find a building. I don't understand how we can do this. We don't really have money, but let's just pray on it. So my sister started doing a prayer. I started walking around North Main Street, and I would walk every day. And I said, okay, you got to tell me something and show me the way. And as I walked around the building, one day I was doing my round, going around the building, just walking around in a circle, talking to myself. And I seen the building open and knocked on the door and talked to the landlord. And he said, sure, come on in. I thought it was the craziest thing, but he said, I believe in you and I trust that you can do it. And so my faith is in you. Go for it. He was as crazy as I am. And that's how we got into the town of Mansfield. So it was really great that we were doing this thing in Mansfield. And we started, and it's been great, but it's a journey. So it's your life. So I wasn't really sad. When we went in, we were small. It was small when we went in. We never were able to put all the dolls in. We rotated the dolls. We weren't able to put all the dolls in. Right now, I am 3,000 dolls cataloged, which I never did before. I think the webpage might be up and ready in another week and a half, 2 weeks maybe, which is going to be amazing. I'm really happy where it's going. It took a little while to try and figure it out, but I'm working with some web designers that's helping, but I had to figure it out in my own head because this is new to me and I'm not a techie person at all. So I need those young people and those young eyes. You said 50 years collecting, yes, but not not technology, not at all. The age is starting to wear up on me. But this has been great. So the webpage will have doll articles, it'll have 10,000 dolls, it'll have books, it's having interviews with doll artists, doll collectors. What else do we have? We have games on there, we have puzzles on there so people get interactive, and we do a lot of history on there. So the dolls tell a lot of history, so one of the big things for me was, how do you tell the story? Because all the dolls have stories. I mean, some of the dolls that I found down south, going down south, and people cleaning their attics or moving. And as they moved, they would find dolls where there had been slave houses. And so we knew that they had been left behind. Some of the dolls that are made out of wishbones, they have the wishbone dolls. Some of the dolls, they're topsy-turvy dolls. Some dolls that we know that they were the Gollywog dolls. So all these stories from the 1800s, and how do you get, people interested in history? We can do that with dolls, so it's amazing what we can do and how you can tell. And it's easy to talk about things that are real difficult when it's not directed towards a person, but we're looking at something that we can all relate to,
I have a question, even though it's not fair to anybody that I have a question.
Well, open it up to anybody have
Why don't we
questions?
open it up? If you guys want to unmute yourself, go ahead. I'm just going to ask, I'm thinking that I could be wrong, but Mansfield is largely a very white community,
Mhm.
right? So
Why?
what was your message to Mansfield schools about black dolls? Like what is the main message? I think the main message that you've been telling us is that every kid should have a doll that reflects who he or she is, or she mainly. But in Mansfield, when you have this white population, how do you talk about your black dolls?
Okay, there's a couple of things that go because people ask me all the time why Mansfield, and my question always my answer is why not?
Yeah.
That, that's the thing.
That-
It's, it is. It's like why not? And that's the question that you're supposed to ask yourself, no matter what. Anytime in life, when people say to you, "Why me?" It's not why me. It's why not. So never ask that question. It's why not, because a couple of things that happen. Why do we locate in Mansfield, and why would I do that? Because we're supposed to be able to live wherever we want. You want to have this exchange of cultures, and so people that live in the city should not be afraid to come to Mansfield. It's a place that we all supposed to be able to go and feel good. This is America, and so we want to build these bridges, and you can't do it if we're afraid of each other. And so you put things where everybody wants to go to out of place. So it's uncomfortable for you to come to Mansfield, and it's uncomfortable for from the city to come to Mansfield, and it's uncomfortable for people in Mansfield to come to a Black Dog Museum. Why not? We all have something to share and to offer, and that's why we do it. That's why we do it, because we have the dolls in Mansfield, and it makes people uncomfortable. But you come there, and it's not so bad. It's a great place to be. And when you come, we've got information. We can talk about things that make you feel uncomfortable. It's easy to talk about it because we're not afraid. And I'm not afraid of anything. So you can always ask me stuff. And I tell people all the time, ask me. I don't get offended. That guy didn't hurt me, nothing can. I'm past everything now. So it's a good thing. Question? No?
I
I thought
I
somebody had
I
a question.
still have more. I'm trying to get at something, and I'm not. Please, everybody, have patience with me. How do you? How does a doll?
Mm-hmm.
How does a doll function in the growing identity of a child? And how do you, is that something you talk about because Black kids do not have black dolls. I mean, there are just not as many of them around as there should be. And, it's, people tend to get dolls. They are more prevalent right now. But are you talking about that in your classes, like your identity as a young Black kid? The ability to have a doll that's Black is really incredibly important.
It really is.
Yeah.
However, the other thing is that when I go into classrooms, we make dolls, and kids make their dolls of themselves, and you have to bring all of that in. And so when they're able to make a doll, and what they have to do is they have to see you, they have to see dolls. I've done doll workshops with adults that have the doll study test. Now, I'm not sure if everybody knows what the doll study test is. And the doll study test is the test that was done with Mamie and Kenneth Clark, that had the black doll and the white doll that was exactly alike. And the kids said, I don't want this doll because, white is better. And so I don't want the black doll. And I've done that with adults. And adults have done the same thing, believe it or not. They've just done the same thing. And it wasn't that they felt like that the white doll was better. It was that they were more comfortable because that's what they had been used to seeing. And that was the reasoning that they said that they had chose that particular doll. Not that they thought the doll was so they say that the doll was ugly or whatever, but because it was what they had been used to seeing, and so that's why they chose that particular doll. But given the circumstances, when they seen the black doll first, and they played with the black doll, and then they had the black and the white doll together, they were more apt to take the black doll rather than the white doll. When they go to make a doll, they usually go and they make a doll that is a black doll, because then when you start adding textures and colors and fabrics, then they seem to think that the fabrics look better on a black on a darker skin doll than it does on a fairer skin doll, you know. And so usually when we do the dolls, we do African rap dolls, we're usually you're given shades of black, and that's the way so that people can get comfortable having a black doll. That's just the way to do it. So you start to give you shades of different colors and stuff. It's important that people have that opportunity to have black dolls. They need to see them, they need to have them, but they need to have all dolls. They need to have all dolls. Not that they just should have all black dolls. I have black dolls because that's who I am. That I want my kids to make sure that my kids have them, because like I said, it wasn't a good feeling growing up. And to have to be thinking in the back of your head, it's like a tape recorder that plays all the time, that you're not good enough, that you can't have your hair like this. I remember even my son coming home and the teacher had told him that he couldn't come back to school because his hair was unkempt. And he was like, what does that mean? Because he had an afro. And the teacher didn't like it. And she kept saying, you can't come to school like that. Your hair is unkempt. And I said, okay, so what do you think I'm supposed to do with his hair? What do you think I'm supposed to do with his hair? Well, he should cut it. No, he shouldn't cut it. We're not going to cut it. You're just going to have to get used to it, because that's his hair. It's clean and it's washed and it's combed. You have to get used to it. There's nothing wrong with him. He's enough. He's enough just the way he is. And we have to get comfortable with that. But the part of that is also, again, when we go and we do workshops and we have dolls, and you bring dolls to school and you have conversations with teachers, and you have different kind of dolls. You have dolls that have different kind of hair. And we can talk about hair. And that's what we do at the museum all the time. We talk about hair, because hair is important, because our hair doesn't, as a Black person, our hair comes in all kinds of textures, and it doesn't grow like other people's hair. My hair is a 4C. And so, yeah, what is a 4C? So our hair ranges from a 1 to a 5. Mine is a 4C. So everybody's hair is different, and it's the tighter your curls. Your curls get tighter, and it's a color. So it's like a 1C is like a fine, kind of a thin, kind of straight, and a 4C is kind of a thicker kind of a hair that has not a real tight curl, but a smaller kind of curl. So that's how our hair grows. And so it took us a while to get other people to kind of figure that out. But yeah, we have like numbers and stuff for our hair and stuff. Amazing. We can have cold conversations just on hair.
Huh. And what other programs do you do for for the museum? What other school groups did you do? Like what topics?
Besides hair,
Yeah.
we do a lot of talk. We do lots of topics based on what teachers wanted. So we do topics based on teachers. So when people talk about Juneteenth, we were already doing Juneteenth programming. We were already doing Kwanzaa program. I mean, that was one of the ways that we got into the school system from in the beginning, because teachers had called us and said, well, my nephew was one of my he was something. He goes to school and they were talking Kwanzaa, talking about holidays, and they were doing Kwanzaa in school. And he said to the teacher, that's not how you do it. That is not how you celebrate Kwanzaa. And she goes, no, we celebrate Kwanzaa at home. All you have to do is just call my aunt, and she'll come to school and she's going to show you how how to do Kwanzaa. And so we went to the school and we started doing Kwanzaa presentations. And I was like, really? And they were like, yeah. So we do. We go into the school and we do Kwanzaa, but we do Juneteenth. And so we have conversations on Juneteenth. We have conversations on hair care. Even the difference between um, African Americans, Haitian Americans, Dominican. There's a whole different group. You can't group all Black people into one group and say this is Black people, because we're different groups. And people have to understand that when you talk about Africans and African Americans, it's a different group, you know, that you're talking about. And so you need to have those conversations. You know, we talk about slavery, we talk about Black inventors. You know, there's a whole program that we do just with Black inventors, a whole program on the history of dolls and when dolls got started, and the first doll that got started, and what the companies were, and why the companies did get started, you know, how the companies got started and stuff. We can do music. So there's all these groups of things that you talk about. History of African Americans and transportation, African Americans and the war, you know. So, and our collection is just that large that those are some of the things that we do. And that's how I break the collection down. Because for me, it's about the history. So I have GI Joes. Why? Because my brothers had all those GI Joes. I hate GI Joes. In case you want
to know. GI Joe with the, what was that? Tent? No, it was like a
with parachute. The big,
yeah, right? The GI Joe with parachute.
Okay, so the story about GI Joes is GI Joe started from the Hasbro toy company, and this is so weird for me. So the Hasbro toy company, they wanted to compete with Mattel with Barbie, and so they went to the Air Force Base out here in Hanscom Air Force Base, and they actually gave them the real, what do you call it, blueprints, how to build the gun and everything. They just gave the whole thing to Hasbro, to the company, and said, yeah, you can take it, so they can make a scaled down version so that they can have like the real, with the GI Joe thing is like the real American hero. So they wanted this doll to be exactly just like the servicemen. And so they gave them the blueprints and everything. But in order to do a real GI Joe, the first ones that came out back in 1962, those dolls have 75 pieces. Okay, from 62 up until 65, they have 75 pieces. I hate them things. They have like a belt, they have like a little sword, they have like the little water can, the water thing, badges, pants. So when you put those things together, the little GI Joes, you gotta dress them, and you have to put each one of those little pieces, 75 pieces, on the GI Joe. But when I put those GI Joes up and put them on a display, then we want to talk about all the wars that African Americans fought in. Now, mind you, I have 250 GI Joes that are Black. They're parachuters, they're Army men, they're Navy, Air Force, Army, Navy, Marine, all of them, all sergeants, generals, all of them, all the guys, the infantry that worked into the field. So I don't know all of them because I hate them. I have my nephews come by, and all the little kids, all the boys that I can find, say, come over and help me put these things together, and they do. But they come by and they put them all together. But then you go and you do the research. And so I know that they had the Hellfighters. That was a whole special platoon that fought in the World War II in New York City, that they were like a large group of men that fought in New York City. We talk about the 54th Regiment that was here. So you can go into all of these different places. I know that there was Memorial Day. It wasn't called Memorial Day. It was another holiday. I can't remember what it is now, but it was before Memorial Day. And it was because after the war, the Civil War, they had left the Union soldiers that was down south. they had, when it was the Civil War, the Southern, when the Union men had died, their bodies were left, and the free slaves, they had just been freed, they had left the bodies, and they weren't. The Black people felt that they were disrespected. It was called Decoration Day. They felt that they were disrespected, that they had disrespected the Union men. And they went and they had all these little kids in school go and make these flowers and put these flowers on the graves of the Union slaves, of the Union men that had died. And they called it Decoration Day. And that was before Memorial Day was even a holiday. It was called Decoration Day first. And all the kids in all the schools, all the Black schools, had to get these flowers and go. And the freed people that were down there buried the Union men, because they had just been left out in the field. And the free Blacks gathered up all the Union soldiers that were there, Black and white, and bought them all, put them all into graves, and they had all the school kids go and put flowers on those men's bodies, on the graves. And those are stories that we tell, because what happens is, if I have all these dolls, then I say, okay, what stories do I want to tell? So I have to go do research, do history, and figure out what is a story to tell with these dolls that we can tell. So it gets people interested, and then people will come and they will tell me stories. But more importantly, it gets kids interested in history, because they don't know. They go, oh, I didn't know that. You know, this is such a cool way. And it's like, I hate going into, I can't say that. I won't say I hate, because the people will get upset. I get distressed. When I go to other museums, because I'm a touchy-feely kind of a person. So I get it. I'm like a kid. When I go to museums, I want to touch everything. I'd be like, oh, that's so cool. I just want to touch it. And so if you're a kid and you go to a museum, you can't touch. And my thing to museums all the time is, okay, you should be doing some replicas so that people can touch and feel and see, so that they can get more involved, because when you can touch something, it makes you connected. And so for me, I enjoy being able to let kids come and touch the things that I have. And I teach them how to touch. It's called supervised touch. I love it. You know, and people say to me, you have all those dolls in your house and your kids never break them? No, they're not going to break them. And they know how to touch, because they're taught. Those are grandma's things. Those are, you know, don't break it. And I hand it to you in a minute. And I say to you, this is very special. I've had this for a long time, and I'm trusting you that you're not going to tear it up, because once it's gone, we'll never be able to get it again. So this is like really important. And like, I know that you're going to just take care of this, and then you're going to hand it to your friend, and you're going to make sure that they don't touch it either. They don't break it, right? You're going to do the right thing. And they'd be like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And they'll hand it right off, and they'll hold it so gently, and they'll tell the story, because they've listened to me. And I'm like, I trust you with this, with your life. I'm giving you. And they'll be like, oh, I'm going to guard it. And then they hand it off so gently to the next person. That's how we teach our kids. And they appreciate that. You know, not this, don't touch. Who wants that? I don't want to be bothered with that. I don't want to go to no museum. I can't touch nothing. Find me in the museum. You're going to see me sneaking up underneath the skirt somewhere.
I just want to remind people we have 10 minutes. So if you have any questions for Deb, please speak now, because I think any question is going to lead to a long story. So we don't have much time.
Any question?
I have a question. I know that you had to close. Do you have any idea when you might be able to open again? Because I sure want to come and see your dolls.
Well, that's a long story. We are not going to be in that building. Right now, I have no idea. I think it's not going to be until 2022. How sad is that? But it's not really sad. Right now, we've been talking between Brockton and Attleboro, but I think we're actually going to be in Attleboro. Attleboro is in the middle of building a cultural district. And right now we have been doing negotiations for them to build us a new building to build us a permanent new building. What we're going to be doing now is, like I said, one, you're going to be really happy, because I'm really happy with this new website. We'll have talks like this. We'll be Zooming all the time. You'll have lecture series. We have the archive. So you'll see $10,000 online. So you can go on there, and any doll that you have seen anywhere, if you want to know about it, you can go on there and you can find it. So you'll be able to say, this is a black cloth doll, you can go on there. This is a porcelain doll, and you can go on there and you can scroll to your heart's content until you find that doll and see one that looks like the one that you have in your hand. You'll be able to do it. You'll be able to talk to, see different doll artists, people that made those dolls, different companies, because we're talking to them now and we're doing Zoom conversations, and we're taping them so that people can see how they're done. So that's going on. But we're working with Stonehill College now, Stonehill, Brockton, and Attleboro, working with some property owners about doing some windows. So in February, we're going to have what they call, we're doing windows of justice. And so in all of these empty storefronts in these towns, we're putting in displays. So we're going to be doing displays in the empty storefronts, which is going to be nice. Because of COVID, people can't, we've been trying to figure this out. So I have a couple of teachers that we're trying to work with that's trying to get some curriculum together. So it's detailed, but kids will be able to go and look in the windows, and they'll be able to get some work done so that they're not stuck in the house. Because for me, I felt really bad that we can't connect with the kids and kids are stuck in the house, because learning for me is the world. Like, the world is their education. People are freaking out because everybody is in the house. And I keep saying, man, I wish that was me. I wish I grew up and I could just have the world as my education place, because I think that they're going about educating people with COVID like really wrong. For me, I think it is, because I think we need to take this opportunity to use the whole world as the learning place and not just this computer, this platform right here. Take the opportunity to have, some kids meet with some plumbers and have the plumbers teach them some math, using how to, put the piping in the bathroom. If you get, 3 or 4 kids, that's how I grew up when I went to school. Because when I went to school, it was the Black student strike. So I grew up in the 60s. And so it was, during the busing was going on, student strike kind of stuff. And so I grew up with the Black Panther Party. And so I went to an alternative school. They had electricians that would come in and they taught. So I can do, when we did the museum, I did a lot of this electrical sockets, because the Panther Party, they had electricians coming in and they was teaching us math. Okay, I had nurses. We had some nurses that came in and they did science with us. The policeman was doing like forensic science stuff with us. We had journalists that came in that did our English, that was helping us do English. So they gave us assignments to go out and to write stories. We would go back and the reporters would look at our stuff and say, no, but they made us write. And it was just like, just write what you see and write what you love and write it with passion. And then don't worry about the grammar, we'll take care of that. But we want you to learn how to just write and just feel free. And I think when kids are able to use the world as their platform, I think they get so much more out of it than just to be able to just sit in front of the computer and do this lesson. And everybody's like freaking out. I'm like, don't do it that way. The best way to do it is to use all your talents. Whatever it is that you do at home that you're doing the best at, you can be giving that to some kids that would be phenomenal. You're at home and you're cooking and you're baking. That's math and everything else. If you're cooking and you're baking, that's math. I mean, it's like, what are we doing? They don't, most of these kids can't sew. They don't know a needle, a thread. you know.
I have so many questions. So tell me about first, let's start with Stonehill. Tell me about your relationship with Stonehill, and are you putting dolls in windows there? What's happening
Yeah,
with Stonehill?
Stonehill is going to have, they have a library. What is that? The I can't think of the
Yeah,
book.
Martin.
Is.
Martin
There
Martin
you go.
Institute. Yeah.
So they're having an exhibit in that space. That's where they are. They also have students that are there that are helping us do curriculum. So they have some students that are helping doing curriculum. But they're having an exhibit in that library, and that
So
will
when you
open to
say
some people.
curriculum, you mean curriculum around the doll's history, or or what kind of curriculum?
Curriculum around the Dolls history, curriculum around in Easton is going to be in Easton's history because they're researching Black history in Easton. I have gotten people to do doing research in each one of these towns, the Black history in all these towns, because we're here.
Yeah, okay. So I don't want to take too much time, but just to just let you know who I represent is, we are a nonprofit raising multicultural kids in Easton, and we are absolutely changing curriculum in Easton Public Schools to teach true history.
Mhm.
And so I'm hoping that I can maybe connect with you and anyone else at
And Beth,
Stonehill so that we can merge our efforts.
okay,
Hmm.
okay, you can do that. You can have my phone number.
Thank
Okay,
you.
everybody can have my phone number.
Thank you.
I have a quick question too. I have some dolls that I've been trying to give away or get rid of. And do you take more dolls for your collection, Deborah?
I do. Let me see, but let me tell you what I tell everybody that gives me dolls. I'm gonna be straight up with you.
Yeah.
What I tell everybody is to really think about it. Um, I won't take them until I look at them first,
Right.
because
Fair enough.
you want to make sure that as much as I need the money, I want to know how much they cost, so that if you have money and you want to give me $20,000, trust me, I want it. But if they're worth 20 grand, I want you to know that they're worth 20 grand, because we all need money. So just don't be saying I'm going to donate this to you. Let's look at it and see. So I want you to send me the pictures first, and then think about it to make sure that there's nobody in your family, a niece or whatever, that you can give it to, because it's your legacy. And I tell people that all the time, because once it's gone, and that's your legacy. And we don't leave enough to our kids. And right now it's all this computer stuff, and they're not going to have anything else to hold on to. And remember, whatever it is, when you're talking about a doll, you're talking about something that you loved. It's not like a coin or a stamp, or it's something that you held on to. You held it. You can smell it. I remember the doll my grandmother gave me. I used to hold it. She held it. I can hold it. I can remember it. I can smell it. I can feel it. So that's special. And so when you go and give that away, trust me, I'm gonna love it and all that. But it's not the same that if you had a niece and they had it, that they can take it and they say, what's your name?
My name's Helen.
Auntie Helen. Auntie Helen, she used to hold that. She had that doll on her bed, and that was my best aunt. And this was her doll, and Auntie Helen had this on her, and I love it because it was Auntie Helen's. Because what else does Auntie Helen have that she's gonna leave me? You think about it. I'll be happy to take it off your hands. But Auntie Helen, you think about, and I tell people that all the time, dolls are really special because it's a connection. It's not like you're collecting a record or some other kind of thing. It's a personal collection.
Good point. Thank you, Deborah.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So we have well, we're done really, but sorry, it was very quick. Deborah, can you say what your telephone number is and we can write it down?
Yes, it's 617
Uh-huh.
448
Uh-huh.
0527.
And then your email is Dolly Days or Deborah Britt.
No, Debrit
Debrit,
at NB,
oh,
N as in national, B as in black, D as in doll, whatever the rest of it is.
yeah, National
Black Doll Museum History.
Black Doll Museum of History and Culture.
Nope, not of. Don't take the O.
Oh,
HC.
Okay, HC.
Mhm.
I do have your email and I do have your telephone number if people want to reach out to me at mwingfield@amesfreelibrary.org, or just inquire at the library and I will hook you up with Deborah if you need that. And Deborah, thank you so much. Would you consider doing a follow-up, like with one of your programs? Or, Denise, I mean, you guys have to catch up with each other, so.
We will catch up with each
Yeah.
other because I feel you can bring a lot of value to what we're doing here in Easton, and I'm looking so forward to talking with you.
Yeah, that's good, because you should talk to Beth, because she's in your town right now. She does all the researching of all the Black history.
Is Beth your
Yeah,
contact?
I'm gonna give you her information and stuff, but she's doing all that Black history. She has quite a bit of
but she's
stuff.
got me looking into Easton history.
Oh, Beth, you're on
She's
the call.
there.
Ah, hi.
You're here. Oh, hi, Beth. So we all know how to get in touch with Deborah, or if you don't remember, come through me. And, maybe there's a way that we can, like with Raising Multicultural Kids, do a follow-up program if you're into it, Deborah. This was really interesting and wonderful and kind of you to do. And the Ames Free Library thanks you. And I know that you've had some talks with the director of the library, the Ames Free Library, about your collection. So she was well aware of you, and we love the fact that you do the work that you do. Thank you very much. What a contribution.
Anytime, just call.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. And we'll be in touch. And Deb, let's keep this going. And everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Marion.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Helen. Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.